since Chris was so wonderful to set the groundwork for high growth, I thought that I would come in and give you some anecdotal experiences for putting all of that into applications. So first I'd like to give you a bit of my background. I, as I mentioned, served in the United States Navy as a photojournalist, but before that, I actually was part of the advertising program at Ball State University. So at Ball State, wonderful program up in Muncie, Indiana, and part of the program was we would develop campaign booklets for companies. So I learned a lot about how to research my demographic, research a target for a company, who was buying their product, what were they interested in, what colors or fonts or just different product wrapping would really attract them most so that they could purchase that. And then taking that information, we would apply that so we could advertise to them appropriately. So we could get the right messages out there so those consumers would buy those products. So having a bit of that background, after I graduated, I worked some and interned with companies like Toyota, State Farm, and Verizon back when iPhone came to Verizon. Then shortly after, I wanted to see the world, so I joined the Navy as a photojournalist, where I deployed across 13 countries, 9 different ships, across 7 years. So it was an absolutely wonderful experience for me, where I really was able to see the world and learn a lot about cultures and individuals. In 2013, I was on my most difficult deployment. We were in the Mediterranean for anti-piracy operations, and by the time I got something like a care package, it really meant a lot. It really was Christmas at sea. And I remember getting this big box from my mom, and I tore it open, I threw my hands inside, and everything in it had gone bad. And I wasn't the only one either. There were hundreds of us who were getting these boxes after 3, 4, 6 months of receiving nothing, and then we were getting them and having to throw them away. And so I wanted to change that, which is how I started Troopster. Now, I started Troopster while I was still serving in the military. In fact, I started almost 4 years ago, and I just left the military last year. So we will get into a little bit about the obstacles. I know that some of you had said you were working in other positions while you have your other job, and that can be challenging, and I am certainly one that can attest to that. But at Troopster, we send care packages not just to those who don't have service or family members and friends, but we try to provide a personalized experience where moms, dads, friends, family members, we want to make it easy for them to send packages so they don't have to go through all the running around, run to Target, Walmart, deal with the shipping and customs forms. We make it easy so they can send and personalize a pack online. We're kind of the Amazon of care packages. In addition to that, we do donation boxes. In fact, we have a pack event, a donation community pack event tomorrow out at Tijuana Flats in Suffolk, and you can follow us on Facebook, social media, our sites, and we have a pack event every 4th Saturday of the month where we try to send anywhere from 200 to 500 donation-based care packages. So these are family events, kids can come out, they can decorate inside the boxes, write notes to the troops, and then we ship them out same day so that individuals like this will be taken care of overseas. You can follow us on any of our social media events, and then we also try to have a big annual event out in November. In fact, this was our last year's one, just upstairs, where we packed over 1,000 care packages to troops. So now you know a little bit about me and where I'm coming from, so that I can tell you and explain to you some of the journey that I've been through when it comes to marketing and high growth, trying to prepare for high growth. So where do you start? Some of you are marketers, you're experienced marketers, some of you are newer businesses, and I'm trying to tailor this a little bit toward those who are newer, who aren't quite as experienced, who are just getting started, but they have this idea that they want to scale it. Well, it all starts, as many of you know, and as Chris said, with your customer base. You have to get to know your market. So when I first started, I really dove into, okay, who would buy this package? Who would it be? It'd be the moms, the dads, the spouses. Okay, who would be my first level? First level, probably be the active duty wives. And I got to know them. I started going to military spouse groups. I started trying to find out, okay, what is it specifically that you want to purchase, that you want to send? What's your routine? Do you have kids? And I got to know that information really, really well. Because how could I market to them if I didn't know who they were? And so that was just my first level. All right, 56% of the military are married. Got it. 45% of them are between the ages of 18 and 30. Okay, that's who I'm going to target. And they spend more than 40 hours a week online. Wonderful. So when I first launched, my site looked nothing like I just showed you. But it actually was somewhat closer to this, where it was 400 products. I figured they could go online, right? Very, very intimidating. They can go online, just start picking things, and we'll do everything. Well, I got a couple of sales, but it really just wasn't working out. It was very overwhelming. So I went back to the drawing board. I reached out to those who had purchased, and I started talking to them. I said, okay, hey, what is it that we can do better? What are you really looking for? Well, they weren't looking for that. They were looking more for this. They were looking for a box that was already pre-made, something that would be even easier, because they were already spending a lot of time running the school, running the household, having a job. They just wanted things to be easier during deployment. So I had to go back to the drawing board. Not only that, but I learned that actually this is the person I was targeting, and yet these were the individuals who were actually coming to my site the most. They were individuals who were baby boomers, who were prior veterans, who wanted to give back to help those who were overseas who didn't have a support network. And I didn't realize that at first. I didn't even consider that those were the individuals that I was supposed to target, let alone businesses, organizations who wanted to have a team building event, who wanted to be able to, again, give back. They didn't have the military connection. They didn't know who to contact or to reach out. And it wasn't until I started researching a little more and actually talking to those in the community and who were using Troopster that I found that out. Startwheel, ODU Innovation, BizConnect, these were organizations that you want to get involved with, especially when you want to start with high growth. Because in order to do that, in order to grow, you have to get to know the market, you have to get to know your local community, get to know the individuals that you're around, the other businesses who are working with you in the community so that you can start networking out. Once I finally started to realize who the actual target was, then I was able to progress a little further. So now you know without a doubt that not everyone is your target. Moving forward, okay, how do you use your resources? Working with word of mouth, networking, co-working organizations, that's a start. That's where you can start building out. Putting together the strategy, that was kind of the next step. So when you want high growth, you have to know where you're going. What's your plan? When you close your eyes and you're seeing your company 10 years from now, what's it going to be? I would sit and daydream as to where Troopster would go. Is it going to be just a small care pack company that kind of stays in place? That's not what I'm envisioning at all. I'm wanting this to be the care package company for everyone. I'm thinking of catalogs that are in recruiting stations. I'm thinking of branching out and having different organizations throughout the country, so we have different branches, so that not just Hampton Roads can come out and have pack events with us, but other communities. 2 months ago, we were fortunate enough to go out to San Diego. We had a pack event out there. We've now had one up in Buffalo. We're now starting to build and work and go to other communities because we started off with a strategy. And it can start small. In my first year, let me just sell 15 care packs. That's all I'm asking, 15. And then past that, okay, maybe we can do 30. And then maybe we can get a business or two who'd be interested in sponsoring. But you have to start somewhere. So putting it on paper. Now when I show you this, this is just how my brain processes. This is a snapshot from a campaign book that I put together for Troopster. I'm a graphic person, so please do not everyone just go out and think you have to hire someone as far as graphically inclined. This is just how my brain thinks. I like to sketch, I like to design, and it helps me work through the process of what I need. So I knew that in that first year, I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't want to take out a loan. So I wanted to grow this very grassroots style, but I was still an E5 in the Navy. So what could I do where I'm not spending thousands of dollars marketing? Okay, word of mouth, social media, a little bit of print, and a lot of SEO. For some out there, SEO is search engine optimization. That's the Google Analytics some of you have heard of, Google AdWords, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that a little later because that was certainly a journey on its own. Once I put down on paper what specifically I wanted to do in frugality, I started putting together, okay, what would a 12-month time period look like? What are some of the events that we have out in Norfolk? Because this is the community that I want to start in first. This is the community I'm comfortable with. And then how can we go out from there? Just putting something on paper and then keeping track of it. Okay, are you hitting those milestones? Why aren't you hitting those milestones? What can you do better, and what resources in the community can help you to reach those? I started off very small. Well, I say small. I started off with just small pitching events. I started off with 1 million cups, if anyone is familiar. As Chris mentioned, you can go to Startwheel and see their schedule. But just getting up in front of people, talking about the organization, getting ideas back from others, and then moving out there, 757 pitch, and then being fortunate as far as being part of the first accelerator, 757 Accelerate, and compounding from there. This is a wonderful community, and there are many out there, but this community especially is very supportive of businesses, and they want to help you grow. Tracking, Chris mentioned this, but tracking your success, tracking and measuring analytics is going to help you immensely. If you have a goal for selling a certain amount of things, or if you have a goal for helping a certain amount of customers, you're going to have to keep track of what you're doing. Starting a campaign, going out networking, and then seeing how many people hit the site, seeing how many sales that you make. And it doesn't have to be something that's terribly complicated. It can be an Excel sheet. And I know that sometimes that can even seem intimidating, but Google makes it easy. They have Google Slides, Google Sheets that resembles Excel sheets, and just keeping track of those. I started counting all of the care packages that we were sending monthly and then tracking it depending on what we were doing. So correlating that. If you know where your sales are, then you know how you're changing, how things are affecting. And if you see a spike because you've done something, start replicating that. Start progressing. So my last bit of advice with progression is don't ever be so in love with your marketing strategy, your plan, your idea, that you aren't willing to change. So when I first started Troopster, I was actually a for-profit company. And I knew very little about business. I thought, okay, if you are selling something, then you have to be this for-profit. You have to make money, right? And then a couple of months later, I started receiving just an outpouring of letters from soldiers who would say, hey, my friends are getting these care packs, but you know, I'm single and I don't really have anyone who can send them. Do you mind donating them? And I would receive these heart-wrenching letters from kids who would say, this is my first deployment and I'm scared. Can you please just send me something to let me know it's okay? And I started reaching out to the community. I didn't have the funds to be able to just send all of these things, but I wanted to take care of them. So in reaching out and running around, I learned about these things called 501c3s and nonprofits. And so I started a nonprofit. And for 3 years, I was actually running them side by side. I was trying to run a full-time nonprofit and a full-time business. I was all over the place. And thanks to the accelerator, I actually learned that really I should be a full nonprofit. We should be able to offer all of these services under one umbrella. But if I'd been so in love with just that one idea, I wouldn't have been willing to change. And I tell you what, it was just running me rampant. I was exhausted. And when I made that transition, it was a weight lifted off my shoulders. And that's not the only time in business that something like that has happened, where there's been a change that has needed to be made, where because I was willing to look at it and to consider it, it worked out for the better. So if you take away anything, please take that bit of advice. So I hope I left you with a few anecdotes to resonate with Chris's high growth. And if you'd like to talk to me with any questions, I'm absolutely here, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.